no way Stephanie White is going to sit there on the sidelines, watch Dejanay Carrington clearly target and clothesline Sophie Cunningham, and then get on the podium in front of reporters and defend Dejanay Carrington, right? There's no way, right?
It could have gone a completely different way, but it didn't. While Sophie Cunningham was reportedly still bleeding in the locker room, Stephanie White walked up to the podium and defended the very player who clotheslined her. Meanwhile, Sophie Cunningham, the same player who spoke up all season when nobody else dared to, who had Caitlin Clark's back when the rest stayed silent, who fought for her teammates while her own coach said nothing, has reportedly made a decision. Indiana just heard her final season is coming to an end.
And refuses to back up her player, Sophie Cunningham. Stephanie White, like we've said this time and time again, a snake in the grass. She needs to go. She needs to get fired. She refused to stand up for Caitlin Clark when Caitlin...
A snake in the grass. That's the phrase people keep using to describe what's happening here. And honestly, it's hard to blame them, because this isn't a one-time thing. All season long, the coaching staff has looked more interested in protecting relationships behind the scenes than standing up for the two players who've actually carried this franchise. Sophie Cunningham took a hit on that court. Then her own coach turned around and defended the player who caused it. Now, Sophie looks done. And tonight, the WNBA isn't just dealing with a nasty flagrant foul. This goes way past the ejection, the suspension talk, or the online outrage. The real gut punch is this. The player who spent all season backing up Indiana's franchise star, who said the things nobody else wanted to say, reportedly hit her limit after watching her own coach defend the person who left her bleeding. That's when Sophie made her call. But to really get why this hits so hard, you've got to rewind to how it all started. It began with what the cameras caught live. DJ Carrington drove both hands straight into Sophie Cunningham's head. No attempt to play the ball. Nothing close to a normal basketball play. It was a direct hit to the head, and officials didn't hesitate, ruling it a flagrant 2 and tossing Carrington from the game on the spot. Sophie pulled herself up off the floor, blood already on her mouth.
Clearly not going for the ball. Two hands going for Sophie Cunningham's head. Sophie Cunningham gets up, not too excited about it. Gets up, bleeding.
Blood dripping from her mouth. That's what a two-handed shot to the head does. And it earned a flagrant 2, the harshest foul call in the WNBA. That call only comes out when officials believe someone crossed way past normal basketball contact into something dangerous. The refs saw it live. The league reviewed the tape. And everyone, the crowd in the arena, fans at home, people all over social media, watched the replay and landed on the exact same conclusion. This wasn't some accident or a hard play that got messy. It looked deliberate, aimed straight at Cunningham. Sophie got back on her feet, blood still in her mouth, and turned toward her bench, looking for support. That's when things took an even uglier turn. Her own head coach stood at the podium and defended the player who just hit her.
He intentionally went for the net. One of the things about Nay is that she's going to play her butt off, man. She's going to compete.
Nobody's just walking in for a free layup. That's the line that came out of the coach's mouth, right after her own player had just been sent to the locker room, bleeding, off a flagrant 2. Instead of standing up for Sophie Cunningham, instead of even admitting the ejection was the right call, the whole focus shifted to praising the player who caused it. Carrington got the credit. Her toughness, her hustle, her refusal to let anyone score easy. All while Sophie sat alone in that locker room, still dealing with what just happened to her.
Intentionally went for the neck. Something tells me Sophie Cunningham's not going to be as forgiving as Caitlin Clark is. Something tells me Sophie Cunningham can kind of see through the bullshit.
Something happened in that press room that nobody saw coming. And once you understand it, the whole story flips upside down. There was another path this situation could have taken. A coach could have walked to that podium, looked into the cameras, and stood up for her own player. Instead, while Sophie Cunningham was reportedly still bleeding in the locker room, Stephanie White stepped up and defended the player who put her there. And Sophie Cunningham, the one player who spent this entire season saying what everyone else was too scared to say, the one who stood by Caitlin Clark when the rest of the roster stayed silent, the one who fought for her teammates while her own coach barely said a word, has reportedly made her decision. This is being called her final season in Indiana. People are already calling it a betrayal. And that reaction didn't come out of nowhere. It's been building all season, through a pattern that has played out again and again in public. Time after time, the coaching staff has looked more concerned with protecting relationships behind the scenes than protecting the two players who've actually kept this franchise in the spotlight. Sophie Cunningham took the hit on the court. Her own coach then stood up for the player who caused it. And now, Sophie appears to be walking away. The WNBA is in chaos tonight, but not just because of one brutal foul. This goes deeper than the ejection, deeper than the league review, deeper than the suspension talk. The real shock is this. The player who spent all season being one of the loudest, most loyal voices for Indiana's franchise star, speaking truths nobody else dared to touch, reportedly hit her breaking point the moment she watched her own head coach defend the player who left her bleeding. But to understand why this hits so hard, you need to go back to where it started, because the story runs deeper than what fans saw live. It began with what the cameras caught. DJ Carrington drove both hands into Sophie Cunningham's head. That wasn't a play on the ball. That wasn't a normal basketball collision. It was contact aimed straight at her head, and officials didn't hesitate. Flagrant 2, instant ejection. Sophie eventually pulled herself up, blood already running from her mouth. That flagrant 2 isn't handed out for rough play. It's the WNBA's most serious foul, reserved only for contact that officials believe crosses way past the line of normal competition. And this wasn't just the refs making that call. The league reviewed it. Fans in the arena saw it. Viewers at home saw it. And social media exploded with the replay. Everyone landed on the same conclusion. This didn't look accidental. It looked intentional, and it looked directed straight at Cunningham. Sophie got back to her feet, blood still in her mouth, and turned toward her own bench for support. And that's exactly when things got worse. Her head coach walked up to the podium and defended the player who just hit her. Nobody's just walking in for an easy layup. That was the message delivered minutes after her own player had been sent off the court bleeding. Instead of defending Cunningham, instead of even acknowledging the ejection was justified, the entire focus shifted to praising Carrington. Her toughness, her refusal to let opponents score easy, her competitive edge. Meanwhile, Sophie sat alone in the locker room, dealing with the damage. Now here's where it gets bigger than one press conference. The reaction to that podium moment makes even more sense once you understand something about Sophie Cunningham compared to Caitlin Clark. Clark has handled this entire season with remarkable restraint. Coaching decisions, awkward press comments, communication breakdowns inside the organization. She's absorbed all of it without publicly escalating anything. Every move she's made has looked calculated, like she's carefully choosing when it's worth speaking up. Sophie Cunningham has never played that game. She says what she sees. That honesty is exactly why she became one of Clark's loudest public defenders when other players in the league stayed completely silent. And now, that same honesty is reportedly behind her decision to walk away from Indiana. After watching her head coach handle this podium moment the way she did, Cunningham appears to have confirmed something she suspected all season, that the people running this organization may not actually have their players' backs. And this controversy didn't happen in isolation. It's part of a pattern that stretches back through the entire season, and even further, into decisions made before Stephanie White ever became Indiana's head coach. Go back to Clark's rookie season opener. DJ Carrington hip-checked Clark in the middle of a live game. Later, Maureen Johannes. A defender body tackled Clark straight into the seats. Then there was Alyssa Thomas making contact near Clark's throat. In every single one of these moments, critics say the coaching staff's response was the same, soft, dismissive, and in some cases, openly defending the player who caused the contact rather than the player who got hurt. Sophie Cunningham watched all of it happen to her teammate, and she was one of the only players in the entire league willing to say something about it out loud, calling out what she believed was jealousy, resistance, and pushback against Clark from people already established in the sport. That kind of honesty doesn't come free. It comes with consequences, professional and personal. And now, Cunningham has become the one standing in the middle of the exact same pattern. Nobody on this team has your back except Sophie Cunningham. That's the sentiment fans and analysts keep repeating, that no coach, no teammate, nobody else on that roster has ever stepped up publicly for Clark the way Sophie has. And that's what makes this reported departure so much bigger than a simple free agency story. If Cunningham walks away, Clark loses the one teammate who consistently, publicly stood beside her when everyone else chose silence. Sophie spoke up about what she believed was organized resistance and resentment aimed at Clark, even while dealing with her own financial pressures, even knowing it could cost her. And now that voice may be gone. Following the flagrant 2 and the fallout from her coach's comments, Cunningham has reportedly confirmed she plans to leave once this season ends. From where she's standing, the environment inside that organization has become impossible to accept, a place that seems to defend opponents over its own players, and praises the person who caused the damage while leaving the injured teammate to deal with it alone. She's not going to fake it. She's not going to walk into practice and pretend everything's fine. She's not going to act like her trust in this organization is still intact. That silence, that shift, is the clearest signal of where things actually stand. The team preached unity all season. Players would be protected, players would be supported. But Cunningham watched her own head coach undercut that message in real time. And after everything that followed, she appears to have made her call. She's done. This could be her last season wearing an Indiana jersey. So what does the league lose if she walks? Ask yourself what Clark's situation looks like without her. Without the one teammate willing to publicly say what she believed Clark was going through inside that locker room. Without someone challenging the coaching decisions and organizational choices that have piled up all season. Sophie has been the clearest, loudest voice standing beside Clark, and her absence would completely change the dynamic in that front office. It could also change how Clark sees her own future there. Losing the one player who consistently defended her in public doesn't exactly build loyalty. If anything, it raises the question, how much support can she really count on going forward? Think about it. Clark took a hit to the face on national television. Did anyone else on that roster step up the way Sophie did for her? That's the standard Cunningham set all season, while Clark handled everything with quiet composure and let her play do the talking. Together, they built one of the most important relationships on that entire roster, the outspoken protector standing beside the franchise star. If Sophie leaves, that voice goes with her. And right now, the only thing left to fill that space is the same coaching staff that just stood at a podium and defended the player who left her teammate bleeding. Fans are furious. Analysts are questioning whether this is a fireable moment. And Sophie Cunningham appears to have already answered the question for herself. Her reported decision to walk away might be the loudest statement any player can make about where an organization truly stands. So here's the real question heading into next season. Does Indiana fix this before it's too late? Or does Caitlin Clark lose the only player who ever truly had her back? Drop your take in the comments. Hit subscribe so you don't miss how this story unfolds, and stay tuned, because this is far from over.